Hey there, welcome to another episode of the Star Wars Minute. It's your daily podcast where we analyze, we scrutinize, and we celebrate the rise of Skywalker 1 minute at a time. I'm Alex Robinson from alexrobinson.fun.
I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.fun.
I'm Tony Thaxton. I do a lot of things, one of which is play drums for a band called Don't Stop or We'll Die. So don'tstoporwilldie.com.
Yes, our closing theme this season.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Yes.
Not featuring Tony Thaxton.
Yes.
Just
the
he
wonderful...
refused to participate.
Mm-hmm. It's conflict of interest.
He's a good man, though. Michael Cassidy.
Yes.
Well, thanks for coming back nonetheless, Tony, to talk about minute number 89 of The Rise of Skywalker. Minute number 89 starts off with the Last Order obeying their First Order and shooting a ray gun at a peaceful planet with no weapons they can't possibly... And it ends a minute later with General Leia enjoying the beginning of her eternal slumber across the Rainbow Bridge on a distant white shore. Yes, now we get to see the destruction of Kijimi, as promised.
Yes. Now, go ahead, Tony. What's your first thought?
My first thought was, I feel like we keep getting new looks to the way planets blow up.
Always evolving.
Yes.
Well,
now, do you think that's is that a change in technology? Or is this just one of those things we're not supposed to think about?
Or technology in their universe?
I was asking in their universe. I have a feeling it's just because of our universe, but
right.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask that. That was going to be my question. What do we think about, let's compare and contrast, the destruction of Alderaan versus the destruction of Kijimi, and do we think it's because if this is miniaturized Death Star technology, as they've said it might be, is it a lower powered laser, and so it's like a slow cooker? No, Tony says no.
My reasoning is because I feel like the timeline doesn't work out, because in Rogue One, when they fire the Death Star and blow up, it's kind of it's a slow burn, more like we see here. Even from on the Death Star, it wasn't consistent.
Although, wasn't that a low power? Oh, no, that was a low power thing to take out.
No, it was Jeddah. It was we didn't see them blow up any planets in Rogue One. You know what I mean?
No.
It was only they blew up a city, and then they blew up the communications.
Oh, they were just going for
records.
The city. Is that okay?
Yeah, it was weaker. Yeah, they weren't firing on all cylinders yet.
Okay, all right. Again, more stuff for you to cut out.
Why are these episodes only 5 minutes long?
Because we had the dumb guy on.
Definitely different than the Alderaan. I feel like that's probably more the technology of the filmmaking rather than the technology of the... Personally, I kind of like the slower burn of it, because it seems almost like it takes a second to heat up the core of the planet rather than it just being like a laser hits it and it blows up like it's,
right.
Yeah.
78 Pinto or something. Yeah, and I always wonder what that must be like on the planet. Like, you see a giant beam hitting the ground, you're like, what the hell is that? All of a sudden, stuff.
Honey, come check this out.
Did you order a giant red pillar?
Let me tell you, in Star Wars Rise of Skywalker Expanded Edition by New York Times bestselling author Ray Carson, we get a little bit of the POV of what it's like to be on a planet that's being targeted by a Death Star style laser. And who do you think whose point of view are we taking here for this little vignette, this little montage? It's not a montage. It's a little scene, a little vignette.
Well, we know Babu Frick and Felicity get off the planet before it blows up, because I feel like we see them later. I guess we could see them leaving the planet as it's being blown up. So I'm going to say Babu Frick.
It is indeed Babu Frick. We were robbed of a scene where Babu Frick is on Kijimi working on a battle droid. He's bringing a battle droid back to life. And he was kind of talking. He was moaning that the spice running gang was no more. Everyone he knew had left. The lucky ones. The rest were dead, killed by the Knights of Ren as they'd swept the city looking for Zoria's resistance associates. And he was working on the droid. Roger, Roger, says the droid, because he's telling him to be still while he's working on it. He's like, he prefers working on a droid that's active and not shutting it down before he works on it, because it seems cruel, but it also is, he gets better results.
It's like my dentist.
Yeah. So he's telling the droid to be still. The droid says, Roger, Roger. And he says the thing. But then immediately disobeys by whipping his head towards the window. Droid's audio receptors were more sensitive than his own ears, so Babu dropped down from the table, scampered across the room, and climbed up to the window. It was night, and the sky had turned the telltale obsidian color that always heralded a thunder snow. He saw nothing unusual, but then he noticed it. A red glow, barely more than a dot, coming from the northwest. The dot grew and brightened, and soon the black night was aglow, the icy streets and buildings of Kijimi City, awash in crimson. Babu muttered a prayer, so let's table that for a second. Who does Babu Frick pray to? He closed his eyes against the painful brightness and accepted his fate. But then he heard a familiar voice from someone he thought long gone. Babu, hurry, we only have a few seconds. End of chapter. Oh no, end of paragraph. Then it does go back on.
I was hoping end of book.
End of book. Babu, hurry, we only have a few seconds.
The end, question mark?
Yeah. So I do like that they included that. I feel like, because I heard that, was it, in my head, is it Spielberg or somebody stepped in and said, hey, we can't kill Babu Frick. Because
yes, allegedly Steven Spielberg saw a rough cut and said, what happened to Babu Frick? And they're like, okay, we have to put Babu Frick in the end of the movie to show that he wasn't killed on Kijimi. So
the way that chapter reads, or that little segment reads, that like Babu Frick was intended to die on Kijimi, and the New York Times bestselling author Ray Carson had that part written out, and then they were just like, oh, guess what? We're putting Babu Frick in the end. So, like, all right, and she just added like, and moments before the blast hit him, he escapes. It's like, we only have seconds to spare, so come out of your shop. Let's run down the street to my Y-wing and take off before that laser that's hitting the core of the planet here. Before that makes the planet explode. Let's go get in my car.
It seems like a stretch.
Yeah,
I feel like he should have left the planet when the Knights of Ren were wrecking everything. That would have been a little bit more like logical. But hey, it's Star Wars.
And I am disappointed to not get, hopefully, maybe eventually we'll get some versions of these with extra, deleted scenes and whatever else. But Babu Frick and a battle droid, I mean, come on, that could be a sitcom. Never mind just a scene in the movie.
Yeah, he totally could have like ridden out on the battle droid's back, like Master Blaster. You know what I mean? He would have been like sitting on the shoulders while these. It does seem like it would be very hard to go from seeing the laser hitting the ground to let's get in our ship and fly away. Like just starting the Y-wing feels like it would take at least 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So, well, to be fair, in Rouge 1, we did see them outrunning the big explosion. The ship was flying away as like the Jeddah was being blown up behind them, and so people have miraculous.
To be fair, that wasn't destroying a whole planet. That was just
come on, they weren't doing the whole planet. What are you, stupid?
Yeah. What are you, an idiot?
Sorry, I fell asleep during a lot of that movie. I'm not gonna lie. So,
but yes, Babu Frick.
Half the planet dies in their sleep. That's good, right?
All right. Way to look on the bright side.
I mean, the planet hits the dark side, so presumably those people who all died first, I guess it's the people on the other side who have an extra couple of seconds to be like, do you hear that?
They're just like, what's going on over there?
Yeah. So do you think like on Alderaan, when the Death Star showed up in its orbit, were they like, uh-oh, that can't be good news? Like, these people presumably had no idea what was coming because it was just a Star Destroyer showing up. That's not enough to normally blow up an entire planet.
Right.
So people were not like, they're just unconcerned.
Right.
So.
Like if the cops show up, you wouldn't think, oh, they've got a nuclear bomb. We'd just be like, oh, there's the cops again.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'd be like, good. The police are here to enforce authority and protect us. So.
Yeah, I don't think Alderaan. Nobody knew about the Death Star when it showed up. They're just like, hey, like, honey,
That's
what's
right.
up with that other moon? You see that? Come look again. It's the same guy. If somehow can we get this same guy to be like just show up on each planet before if Babu Frick can escape in seconds, then my nameless character is just like, hey, what's up with that? Like, come check this out. Like, has to be in. He has to escape each time so he can be on the next planet that's destroyed.
I did hear a podcast once, and they talked about a guy who was at Hiroshima when the bomb dropped, and then he left and went to Nagasaki to go
where he
recover. And then,
he worked in Hiroshima and like after he survived the explosion, and then it was like, all right, I got to get home, and he got home to Nagasaki.
Yeah, that's some bad luck.
But survived both.
Yeah.
So good luck, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, that's my pitch for a Star Wars character, the guy who used to live on Alderaan, somehow made it off, and then lived on.
Whenever he shows up,
Kijimi.
people are like, "Oh, we got to get out of here because this guy's like an omen for the Death Star coming to blow up the stuff."
But yeah, Kijimi, how?
I said Kijimi Kablooey. That would be the Variety headline the next day on Coruscant. Well, speaking of headlines, then we cut to back in the Rebel base, which is on
Agent Kloss.
And then we see Commander Ars Da'aci telling Poe that the planet had been destroyed. Poe is receiving the news that it had been destroyed, and I'm wondering, how do they know this exactly? Are there cameras on every planet where you go look on the security footage? You can see, did the First Order publicize, did they film it and then show everyone this afterwards and say, hey, guess what? This is what it's implied that it's happening almost simultaneously because the planet is literally still being destroyed when you hear Poe going, Kijimi, no way, or whatever he says.
Kijimi, how? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't know how it like, I'm assuming that they would have people kind of like nearby. You know, maybe there's either other planets in the system or moons nearby that are just able to see that and be like, whoa. Whoa, what's going on over there?
That was the headline in the Kijimi Star. Whoa.
Whoa. Whoa. Yeah, it doesn't say. Doesn't say how L'Arma Da'aci gets the news.
And then we have the Hobbit and Poe starts saying, the Hobbit says, oh, that was enough planet to blow up an entire ship. Does that mean every ship in the fleet has that power? And Poe's like, yes, every ship in the entire fleet has that ability. And first of all, how on earth does he know this? One ship shows up, you just extrapolate that the entire fleet now has them. But I also love that Oscar Isaacs is always given the role of having to sell these hard to swallow, yes, somehow Palpatine has returned. Yes, they fly now. Like, he's always has to be the one to
because he's got the script. So he's like, no, they all have this. They all have little cannons that can blow up a planet.
Says right here.
Sorry.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, then it goes into, well, first of all, and again, I apologize, I'm a little behind on this season of the show. Probably been talked about, but Hobbit Boy, Dominic Monaghan, that's his name, right? Dominic Monaghan?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Too distracting for me when he shows up. And it's weird because I think most people are aware of him, or have at least seen him. Maybe they don't know his name, but they know who he is. And I feel like but for some reason he's this like level of fame that like I can't get out of my head. That's like, oh, it's that guy, and I can't. Even though thankfully it's a small role, but still a bigger role than it. And the role didn't really need to exist at all.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem is that it's too small. Like
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson was obviously Woody Harrelson, but then he worked as Beckett because it's like, oh, okay, because this is a character now. Whereas like this guy's not a character; he's just there to like spout out exposition every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of his dialogue could easily have been given to Rose, Snap Wexley, or Lieutenant Connix.
Yeah, or a droid,
or the opening crawl.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and I knew ahead of time he was in it, but yeah, it was more distracting than I expected.
Yeah.
And is he at the end here? When I rewatched it this morning, I wasn't wearing headphones or whatever, so it was a little hard to hear. But is he translating that message there at the end?
Yeah,
Yes.
I wasn't sure either, but I went to the book and I looked. He is it doesn't say what he's translating it from.
Yeah, because he's
Can't be
doing all
Sith,
this.
we know that.
Yeah, I know, but it's like
Although-
implied that it is almost, and it's like, wait a minute,
That would
but
be-
that's not. Yeah,
Ironic if they went through this whole thing and then he's like, wait, I can read Sith.
Yeah, I speak Sith.
Nobody asked me. I'm not like because he's not a droid. He was like, no, I don't have to be programmed to not read Sith. I can. Or that's how we find out he is a droid.
Yeah, alien style.
Smoke just starts pouring out of his ears.
Like yo-yo.
Yeah, he is. He's they're hearing this transmission and he is translating it from who knows what into basic and telling everybody what after they blew up the planet, then the last order is just like, haha, that's right, now we're gonna blow up all your planets. First order, last order, whatever. Final order, we're good. We're not good. We're evil.
Well, and I also feel I feel like I keep nitpicking on this, but that's why we're here. They say any planets that don't surrender will be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And my impression was that the planets weren't fighting back. Remember Poe and Felicity had that conversation, and Poe's like, "We're the only thing left. How are we going to do this? Oh, where no one else is. The galaxy's given up on us." And so, anyway, I feel like this has just been very whatever they need the threat to be at that given moment. That's what it is. Either they're the only ones fighting, or they are the heroes who are leading the galaxy, or it's anyway.
Well, I think it's a difference between, they're not fighting against it, but they're not actively joining up with, everybody's basically independent at this point on their own. All the planets are on their own for the most part. And so now he's saying, all right, well, now we're coming through and actually like taking over. The final order is like, we're coming through, we're taking over with our Sith fleet.
Right, but the First Order has been here for a year already. And I would assume
but they weren't actively taking over that many
they-
planets in the same way.
What were they doing? They blow up
No one knows
the
they
capital,
were
and then
or
they're just like, all right,
what they were doing.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure what, but it seems like basically they're saying like, all right, now we're coming through for real.
Yeah. We might have
To
said this a
take
couple
over.
of times, but seriously now, this time for real, we're doing it.
Starting now. Starting now. Now.
Yes.
Final order, taking over. Starting now. But yes, they are actively on their way to take over the galaxy.
I also think it would have been a bit more dramatic to have maybe a hologram message from Sheev announcing his planned invasion rather than just a generic anonymous voice kind of, like,
Right.
come on, Sheev, where's your sense of the dramatic? He used to be so good at this kind of thing, and now he's suddenly like, hanging back, and
yeah.
maybe he's
imagine-
embarrassed.
He
He's
said
embarrassed.
he
to
loves a
what's all, like-
hologram. So
Yes,
Yeah.
he does love holograms. Yeah.
Like, what about like giant, like Snoke style, like 20-foot tall holograms showing up on every planet? To be
That would have
like,
been awesome.
And now that would have.
Yeah. Next time.
And so then we get to see. We asked this a couple of weeks ago, or a week or two ago. I don't know. Who's
can
in
tell?
charge here?
Yes.
And Poe's in charge here. Armad AC says, "Hey, like Leia made you acting general,
acting general. It's like
Yeah,
assistant
acting
to
general.
the general.
right? Leia made you acting general. What now?
Yeah. And he's a little lost.
And I do. It's kind of the end of the. It's the end of the minute, but Out of context this minute, it would so kind of almost like a comedy beat. I'm like, well, like you're in charge. What's now? And then it cut to a body bag. And it's like, well, that didn't last long. Who's in charge next? like if that was Poe in the body bag instead, just being like, well,
or just hiding in bed because he's too, he
right.
just can't move forward. He's like, I'm going to bed.
Cut to somebody knocking on his door, like, acting general.
It should have been like, you're the acting general, and then cut to an X-wing flying away from the planet very quickly.
Right. What now? And he's like looking behind him.
They do see this base does seem very relaxed for considering that they're about to confront a big invasion. You know what I mean? They're all just kind of like standing around, and there doesn't really seem to be a sense of urgency.
I think, for the most part, if I could bring a sports analogy into it, I think they are basically like in let's call it, if it's a baseball game, it's like the 8th inning, and they are getting blown out like 10-0 or something like that. And they're just like, all right, well, we got to finish the game, but like it's not looking good. And every once in a while, something they're like, oh, they get a hit or something. I'm like, all right, that's it. But it's not like they have no reason to be. They're not like, yes, we're gonna go do it, and we're gonna win. They're like, all right, well, we gotta keep trying because But
fans are slowly walking out as the game's going on.
Everybody's trying to beat the traffic.
Yeah. That's what they should have had. Maybe people just leaving, being like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go to Coruscant and just check something real quick, and then taking off.
Yeah, like, hey, I got the technical read out of this. Can you give it to Claude? Or like, beep, beep. Claude is just like flying away. Like,
Claude.
Snap Wexley.
Snap and Claude together again. Yeah, I don't know how they're going to get out of this one. It seems like Rey has left. Their general has died. They've blown up Kijimi. As far as everyone knows, Poe is Babu Frick is dead. That's what Poe should have been like. Kijimi, no! Like all upset that right. Babu.
And then cut to like a little like memorial. They have like this little picture with candles around it, and everybody's all solemn.
Aww.
Have the little tiny casket.
Little matchbox.
Oh. That is both disturbing and cute at the same time.
Well, that's all I have for minute number 89.
Yeah. Me too. Mm-hmm. Acting General, what now body bag?
Tony, do you remember the first time you saw The Rise of Skywalker? What your first impressions were of it?
Yes, I saw it. I pretty much always try to go to the very first possible screening that I can. Saw it, and for most of these newer movies, I have gone. It's kind of a lame place in general, but I will go to the Universal Studios City Walk because for one reason it's the only real IMAX theater near me. You know, a lot of those places call themselves IMAX, but this is the one that like truly has the gigantic screen. And so I always try to go to one of those. So that's why I picked that theater. But yes, went with a few friends, and I remember I enjoyed it. I'm not. I feel like I've kind of sounded negative on some of these episodes, but I do enjoy this movie. It's not my favorite or anything, but I remember enjoying it, and I remember my biggest takeaway was like, yes, while there were things I didn't necessarily love, it like flew by to me. I was never bored. It's just crammed full of stuff, and it just keeps moving along the whole time. And yeah, I just remember leaving, enjoying it, and thinking like, wow, there was a lot going on that I have to think about now. So yeah, I did enjoy it. I will say a weird thing has happened though, where normally then once the movies would come out digitally or Blu-ray, whatever, I would usually get them right away and like rewatch them a bunch of times pretty quickly. Whereas this one, I still watched it right away, but I wasn't finding myself wanting to rewatch it as much as I have been with all the others. But I do enjoy it. It's just it was interesting. I don't know if that's just me getting older. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I don't revisit this one as much.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It is more of like a I want to say like a sugary snack of a movie. So it's like you might, you don't want to go to it all the time because you start to feel sick. But
Right.
and insert your own comments there, everybody. But I get that from it. Although I did count you among the people who, after I saw it, were just like, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's all I want.
Whereas a lot of people were just like, that was the worst thing I've ever seen. And a couple people were like you, I'm going to put you in there. I think I put Belknap in this camp, and he doesn't remember it. So he claims he always thought it was terrible, but we'll get to that maybe at some point. But there are people who are just like, yeah, that was fun. Like, I liked that. Like, and so instantly I started kind of keeping tabs of those people.
Yeah, that's all I want at the end of the day. Just
list.
make me have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never gonna love
Make
every.
you have a good time.
I'm never gonna love every single thing because even my favorite ones, I can still pick apart and tell you the things I don't like about them. So yeah.
And I don't rewatch things generally a lot of times. Even stuff that I like I've never went back and watched The Mandalorian, or even though I liked those, but I don't know. I guess I'm in a stage in my life where I don't. I'm like, there's too much new stuff to get that I'm not going to watch. I hear people who sit down and they watch the whole movies again in order, all the movies. And I'm like, wow, that's a commitment. So
I like, as opposed to what we're doing. As opposed to watching them slowly over the course of 10 years. There's not at all a commitment.
This is like a drip, though. It's not like we're watching all the movies right anyway. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
Well, speaking of that, we are doing this minute by minute, but did you know there are over 200 other crazy people going through movies 1 minute at a time? That's right. If you go to moviesbyminutes.com, you can find the complete list of all of the films which people are analyzing, scrutinizing, and celebrating. Everything from the Planet of the Apes movies to My Dinner with Andre to Mystic Pizza. All sorts of movies for everyone's taste are there for your listening pleasure. So go to moviesbyminutes.com, sample some of a movie you like, and then come back and sample us again tomorrow with another Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.